Okay, YouTube, I looked everywhere for a Hayward install of this turbo cell T5, right, for above ground that goes right through the return jet. I looked everywhere for one of those because it seems like a simple install, but there are a lot of caveats here that I need you to know about. One, if you don't have a Hayward return, get on Amazon or your favorite pool supply place and order an actual Hayward return. I did not have one of those, so the elbow did not fit. Okay, so that was problem number one. Problem number two comes when you are putting this on. It went together super easy. I was so stoked and excited, but as you can see, I have a leak, which obviously has to be stopped. There's no O-ring provided to go between these two joints. And I do not have a mechanical brain, right? I can do a few things, but you know, this would have been super simple. Number one, had Hayward provided a O-ring that goes inside here to stop this leak, and or instructions about the product. Like, there is nothing. Like, I got a booklet and it just shows a diagram, and like I have screws and all kinds of weird things that I have no idea in this package for what I would actually need 4 screws for. Like, okay. So, so get the Hayward return, number one. Number two, go to your local hardware store and get an O-ring to go into this. I can look up later what's on my package of the one I found that I think will solve this problem. But now my new problem is, again, not a mechanical brain. When you try to unscrew this whole shaft either tightens and or moves. So I can't get this off. Like, I cannot figure out how to get the elbow out of the Hayward return. This obviously will only unscrew so far. And you got to be careful because you can see I've already nicked it up a little bit with my channel locks that I've been trying to hold it with to turn and get this off, right? And obviously every time you take this unit off, water pours out of the pool. So there's a twofold problem here, and it is one, communication about Hayward and its product. Like, I am completely unhappy at this moment. What should have been a super simple install has been a ongoing nightmare interrupted by vacation, which is frustrating. And I don't even have the computer piece hooked up yet to see if this is going to even function on my pool. So if you already have, like, I started with a larger T15 cell because it was sold to me inappropriately for this size pool that I'm putting it on. And so I thought I would buy the one that is appropriate for my pool. Out in all points, call to my son, who is a mechanical brain, and we'll see how he gets it to come off, and I will add that to this post. Okay, so this O-ring, we lubed up there with some petroleum jelly, Vaseline, and on the insert, so this is the eye, we put, after we got the elbow joint back in, and I'll show you about that in a second, we put the O-ring in first and then this, just kind of as a double seal, okay? And that was part of the fix. So the second part of the fix was simply adding some thread tape to the elbow, right? So for us to get this out, because, you know, leverage is difficult, find either, you know, a smaller pipe, or we used these giant channel locks to stick that in and kind of help turn that to loosen it, because it does build pressure really fast, but obviously not pressure enough to stop it from leaking. But between the thread pipe thread on the outside of the elbow, right, on the threads of the elbow, and potentially the O-ring on the inside. We have stopped, presumably, that leak that we had earlier. There are other compounds that you can use. I get a little leery about that just because I need to get that off, you know. I mean, to winterize, I'll probably leave this on for the winter because I don't know that that will matter. But this, obviously, this cell has to come off. Winters in Michigan are not okay to leave those things out. So far, with those two fixes, things seem to be doing okay. Okay, so we did fix the leak here. You can see we're holding strong. So after getting the water a little bit cleaner, I decided to hook up the panel. It's a very simple thing to hook up the panel. It's one cord. It plugs in right here where it says cell. Now, everything else is not so simple. I'm going to be honest, if I had to do it over again, I would have just bought the Hayward Aqua Pro, which is way too much for my pool size. But oh my gosh, so much user friendly. It seems like this would be super simple. Here's all of our, things. Here's our factory presets and, what to do. But I am not using the pump plug. I thought this was such a great idea that you could, because pumps don't come with switches mostly, which I think is a dumb idea, but you can see there is the plug for your pump. So you could control it with this timer right here, which I gotta tell you is also not very user friendly, but okay. But it's not covered. Like, we run our pump in a covered outlet because it's by water, and so this is wide open right underneath the housing of the pump, right? So I decided no, I wasn't gonna do that. It took me a day to figure out that I couldn't just run this in the off position, like the timer off. Like, I assumed that meant timer off because you have this switch right here, superchlorinate, auto, and off, which I would have thought actually controlled the chlorinator, right? This turned the pump on and off along with the chlorinator, this, and so I was just running it on I did this, right? Like it says. And then just turned the filter pump timer off because I'm not using it, right? I'm in manual. I'm just letting it run. I always let mine run 24/7. I just do. And it doesn't run, like the chlorinator isn't on when you do that. So I had to switch this to on and just, there's nothing set on the little flip switches to turn it on or off. And I do have the superchlorinate on auto. So I let it run all night and I woke up to this, right? I will have to, I'm assuming this is my chlorine levels and pH and alkalinity, but none of it's marked at what that actually is. So to know that, I'm gonna have to find the book or hope, cross my fingers that there's something in there, but I don't know. So I don't know. It is not as easy and simple to run. It's not. And I know I'm not used to it, but I just think they could do better. These are still not cheap, but they could do better. And so I'm getting a check salt because of that 27, I'm assuming, instead of 28.
and the inspect cell, I don't know. So I'm hopeful that when the salt gets up to the correct level, that will be better.
Okay, so this is 2 weeks later after multiple chemical additions and continuing to mess with the control center. So the book says that I don't have to use this timer if I'm just not going to use the timer. I have not found that to be true. This is the setting where I feel like it's finally generating chlorine that's showing up on my test strips. So I run my pump 24/7. I'm not using the plug-in that is on the unit because I don't like that it's not covered in a water area. So I turned all of the switches on. So when you push these little switches out, that's on, right? So if they're in, I got my pump running right now, so I don't really want to shut it off, but you can just push those in and that turns it off. So if you want to use this as a timer, that's how you set those little things. Like if they're out, it's on. If it's in towards the middle, which is how it comes, that's the default, everything is in. So I just have it on. So the generator is on 24/7 because what this desired output means is for that will generate chlorine for 50% of the runtime. So that's the default that it starts on is 50. I had it lowered before I changed this setting. And this is the first super chlorinate that I've done as well. And I just started it last night, so it's not through its 24-hour cycle yet. After this, I'm gonna put it back to auto and hope that it maintains. And if it doesn't, then you gotta turn the output percentage up. So hopefully I have this running for my needs for the pool. But not the most user-friendly system that I have used with Hayward.